Have you ever felt invisible, like you're shouting into a void, but no one hears you? For many, this feeling isn't just a passing moment. It's the backdrop of their entire childhood. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of the ignored child. This isn't just about kids who are left home alone. It's about a much more subtle, and often more damaging, form of neglect. Emotional neglect. Imagine a child who gets good grades, follows the rules, and never causes any trouble. On the surface, they look like the perfect kid. But what if, behind that well-behaved exterior, there's a deep-seated loneliness? What if their achievements are met with a brief nod, their feelings are dismissed, and their need for connection is consistently overlooked? This is the reality for the ignored child. Their physical needs might be met there as food on the table and a roof over their head, but their emotional needs are starving. So, what happens inside the mind of a child who grows up this way? The first and most profound impact is on their sense of self. Children build their self-esteem through the reflections they see in their caregiver's eyes. When a parent's eyes light up, when they enter a room, a child learns, I am delightful, I am wanted. But when they are met with indifference, the message they internalize is, I don't matter. My presence is insignificant. They start to believe that they are inherently unworthy of love and attention. This isn't a conscious thought, but a deep, emotional blueprint that shapes their entire life. This lack of validation forces the child to become incredibly self-reliant, but not in a healthy way. They learn very early on that their needs are a burden. Crying gets them nowhere, so they stop. Asking for help is pointless, so they figure everything out on their own. They become little adults, taking on responsibilities far beyond their years. They might be the family peacemaker, the responsible older sibling, or the quiet, unobtrusive child who never asks for anything. While this might look like maturity, it's actually a survival mechanism. They've learned that to survive, they must suppress their own needs and feelings. This leads to a major struggle with identifying and expressing emotions. How can you know what you're feeling if no one ever asked? How can you learn to say, I am sad or I am scared, if those words were always met with you, refine, or do want to be so dramatic? As adults, these individuals often describe a feeling of emptiness or numbness. They might know intellectually that a situation is happy or sad, but they can't connect with the feeling on an emotional level. They've spent a lifetime pushing their feelings down, and now they can't find the switch to turn them back on. This can make relationships incredibly difficult. They may appear distant, aloof, or unemotional, not because they don't care, but because they genuinely don't know how to access or share their inner world. Another common trait is an intense fear of being a burden. Since their childhood needs were treated as an inconvenience, they grow up believing that needing anything from anyone is a terrible imposition. As an adult, this can look like refusing to ask for help, even when they're struggling. It can mean taking on too much at work, in friendships, or in romantic relationships. Because they don't want to inconvenience anyone, they become hyper-independent, often to their own detriment. Because the thought of relying on someone else feels terrifying and shameful, they would rather suffer in silence than risk being seen as needy. Logically, this creates a pattern of seeking out familiar dynamics in their adult relationships. We are often drawn to what we know, even if what we know is painful. An adult who was ignored as a child might find themselves in relationships with emotionally unavailable partners. They might unconsciously recreate the dynamic of their childhood, constantly striving for the attention and validation of someone who is incapable of giving it. It feels normal to them. A healthy, emotionally available partner might even feel overwhelming or too intense, because they are unused to that level of intimacy and connection. This cycle can be incredibly frustrating, as they find themselves feeling that same old invisibility, just with a new cast of characters. At the same time, many of these individuals develop a kind of superpower, hyper-attunement to the needs of others. Because their own needs were ignored, they became experts at reading the emotional states of those around them. They had to. Their survival depended on anticipating a parent's mood to avoid conflict or disapproval. As adults, they are often the most empathetic, compassionate, and supportive friends you could ask for. They can spot the slightest shift in your tone of voice or body language and will instinctively know what you need. They are amazing listeners and caregivers. The tragic irony is that they are so good at caring for others, because they were never cared for in the same way themselves. They give away the very thing they are starving for. This often leads to a phenomenon known as people-pleasing. Their self-worth becomes tied to their usefulness. The only way they feel valuable is by doing things for others. They believe they have to earn their place in a relationship by being helpful, agreeable, and saying no feels like a betrayal. An act that could lead to abandonment. This puts them at high risk for burnout and resentment. They give and give until their own well is completely dry, and then they wonder why they feel so empty and unappreciated. So, how does one heal from a childhood of emotional neglect? The journey is not about blaming parents, who may have been doing their best with the tools they had, perhaps even repeating patterns from their own childhoods. Instead, the journey is about reparenting yourself. It's about finally giving yourself the attention, validation, and compassion you never received. The first step is awareness. Simply understanding why you feel the way you do can be incredibly validating. Recognizing these patterns, the people-pleasing, the fear of being a burden, the emotional numbness is the beginning of change. You can start to see that these are not character flaws. They are adaptations. They are the armor you built to survive your childhood. The next, and perhaps hardest, step is learning to listen to yourself. This means checking in with your own feelings. You can start small. Ask yourself several times a day, what am I feeling right now? At first, the answer might be, I don't know, and that's okay. The goal is just to start asking the question. You can use a feelings wheel or a list of emotions to help you put a name to the sensations in your body. This is the process of rebuilding the connection between your mind and your heart. From there, it's about learning to value your own needs. Start practicing asking for small things. Ask a friend for advice. Delegate a small task at work. State a preference for what movie to watch. Each time you express a need and have it met, you are rewriting that old childhood script that says your needs don't matter. It will feel uncomfortable, even terrifying at first, but it gets easier with practice. You are teaching your inner child that it is safe to have needs and that they are worthy of being met. Setting boundaries is another crucial piece of the puzzle. For someone who has spent their life being a people pleaser, setting a boundary can feel like an act of aggression. But boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting your own energy and well-being. It's learning to say no when you're stretched too thin. Finally, compassion is key. You must learn to be your own biggest cheerleader. When you make a mistake or feel like you've fallen back into old patterns, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. The inner critic of an ignored child can be incredibly harsh. Learning to counter that voice with words of self-compassion and understanding is a radical act of self. You can literally tell yourself, you are doing your best. It's okay to struggle. You are worthy of love and care, no matter what. If this journey feels too overwhelming to do alone, that's completely normal. Remember that hyper-independence, it's time to challenge it. Seeking help from a therapist or a counselor can be a life-changing step. A good therapist can provide a safe space to explore these feelings and give you the tools and support to build a healthier, more fulfilling life. It's a way of finally getting that attentive, caring presence you needed all along. The wounds of an ignored childhood run deep, but they are not a life sentence. Healing is possible. It's a journey of turning your attention inward, of learning to see, hear, and value the person you have always been. It's about realizing that you are never invisible. You are just waiting for the right person to finally see you, and that person is you. Thank you so much for joining me today for this important conversation. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content on psychology and self-growth. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.